Here's something almost no cat parent has ever really stopped to think about. Every single night, the moment your head sinks into the pillow, the moment your breathing slows and the day finally lets go of you and you drift down into your own long, unbroken human sleep, your cat begins a life you have never seen. Not a quieter version of the daytime, not a few sleepy stretches at the foot of the bed, an entire second existence with its own schedule, its own rules, its own private map of your home, and its own reasons behind every single thing it does. And here's the strange part. You have been sharing your house with this secret nightlife for years, maybe for a decade or more, and you've almost never actually watched it happen. Think for a moment about how well you know your cat's daytime self. You know the sunny spot they claim by the window at 11 in the morning. You know the exact tone of the meow that means the food bowl is unacceptably empty. You know how they flop over on the warm floor with their belly to the ceiling, and how they trail you from room to room while you fold the laundry. That cat, the daytime cat, feels completely familiar, like an old friend you could describe in your sleep. But the cat that walks through your dark, silent house at 3 in the morning, the one that pauses in the doorway, stares at a blank wall for 2 solid minutes, then suddenly explodes into a full sprint down the hallway and stops dead as if nothing ever happened. That cat is almost a stranger. And tonight, we are going to meet that stranger. We are going to follow your cat through the hours you are never awake for, and by the time we're done, you are going to understand your own animal in a way that most people who have loved cats their whole lives never quite manage, because none of it is random. That is the very first thing I need you to let go of. When we catch just 3 or 4 seconds of our cat's night, a shape gliding past the bedroom door, a soft thud from the living room, a pair of eyes at the window, it looks like pure chaos. It looks like your cat is simply being weird for no reason on earth. But the domestic cat, known to science as Felis catus, is not drifting through the darkness without a plan. Everything you are about to learn is driven by systems working together, quietly, underneath the surface. An internal body clock that decides when your cat wakes and when it rests. Eyes that were built, quite literally, to pull light out of a nearly dark room. Ears that can swivel towards sounds you will never in your life be able to hear. A memory that maps every doorway, every chair leg, every route through the house. A nose that is reading a whole layer of scent you cannot smell. And beneath all of it, the instincts of a small, patient, and genuinely astonishing hunter. That is the truth we don't much like to say out loud about the sweet creature curled up on our couch. Your cat may be fully fed. Your cat may never once have set a paw outside. Your cat may be the gentlest, most spoiled, most thoroughly pampered animal in the entire neighborhood, and it is still, in every way that matters, a predator, carrying the body and the senses of a hunter into a home lit by nightlights and glowing alarm clocks. When the sun goes down and you climb into bed, that hunter does not switch off. It simply clocks in for its shift. If this is the kind of thing you love, the hidden science behind the animal you share your life with, the surprising little truths that change how you see your own cat forever, then do me one small favor before we go any deeper and tap that subscribe button. This channel is built for people exactly like you, and every new subscriber helps us keep making these deep dives into the feline mind. Now, let's step into the dark together. We have to begin with a word that almost everybody uses about cats, and almost everybody uses wrong: nocturnal. You've heard it 100 times. People say cats are nocturnal, meaning they're active at night and asleep during the day, the way an owl is, or a bat. And it certainly feels true, doesn't it? Your cat definitely seems to save its wildest, most acrobatic energy for the exact hours you are desperately trying to sleep. But here comes the first surprise of the night, and it's a real one. Your cat is not actually nocturnal at all. Scientists who study animal behavior sort daily activity into a few different patterns, and they're a good deal more precise about it than the rest of us. A truly nocturnal animal does most of its moving, feeding, and hunting deep in the dark, after night has fully settled in. Owls and bats fit that description beautifully. An animal that does the opposite, active in daylight and asleep at night the way most of us live, is called diurnal. And then there's a third group, and this is the one your cat belongs to. The word is crepuscular. It's a wonderful, slightly strange-looking word, and it simply means an animal whose activity is concentrated around twilight, those magical in-between hours near dawn and dusk when the light is changing rather than fully gone. Now think about what dawn and dusk actually are from your cat's point of view. These are not just pretty times of day. To the small hunter your cat is descended from, they are the richest, most opportunity-packed windows in the entire 24 hours. As the light drains out of the evening sky, rodents begin to stir and creep out. Insects gather and shift and swarm. Birds flutter down onto their perches, rustling and calling to one another. And near dawn, the whole thing runs again in reverse. The world waking up, small creatures back on the move, everything alive with exactly the kind of motion a hunter is wired to notice. Your cat's ancestors learned, over thousands upon thousands of generations, that the edges of the day were where the food was. And your cat still feels that pull deep in its body, even if the only thing moving in your living room at dusk is a single moth circling the lamp. Because your cat has two of these activity windows rather than one, scientists reach for yet another word, bimodal. Bimodal just means the activity rises twice within a single daily cycle, once in the early morning and once again in the evening. If you've ever noticed that your cat gets just a little bit crazy right around sunrise, and then again right around dinner time, you've been watching a bimodal crepuscular rhythm play out in your own living room. That is not your cat being difficult on purpose. That is roughly 10,000 years of evolution keeping time. And this isn't something we simply believe, it's something we can measure. Researchers can fit a cat with a tiny device called an accelerometer, clipped right onto the collar. An accelerometer records movement, the very same kind of sensor that lets your phone know when you've tilted it or picked it up off the table. In one study, scientists tracked 28 pet cats, following both their movement and their eating across different seasons of the year, and the pattern that came out of it was beautifully clear. In summer, the cat's activity and feeding tended to climb between roughly 5 and 9 in the morning, and then rise again between about 8 and 11 at night, right around sunrise and sunset in those long, generous summer days. Then winter arrived and rewrote the whole picture. As the daylight hours shrank down, the cats pulled their activity in tighter, into a narrower window around whatever light remained. They didn't all wake and eat and roam at precisely the same instant. Every cat kept its own personal habits, its own home, its own history. But as a group, they revealed something genuinely remarkable. A cat's schedule is not bolted down to a fixed clock time. It shifts with the seasons, with the light, with the slow turning of the year itself. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because whether or not your cat can go outside changes absolutely everything. Cats with access to the outdoors showed that two-peak twilight pattern far more strongly. Their movement tracked the natural rise and fall of the light, almost like clockwork, along with the temperature, the weather, and the comings and goings of every other creature in the neighborhood. Out there, twilight truly is prime time. The rodents are active in the low light. The insects are on the wing. The birds are settling in for the evening or starting back up at dawn. For a small hunter, those changing hours are absolutely loaded with information and with opportunity. But your indoor cat is living under a completely different set of signals. And this is one of the most important things you can possibly understand about the creature in your home. Inside, the electric lights blaze on long after the sun has gone down. Meals don't arrive at dawn and dusk. They arrive whenever you happen to decide to open the cupboard. You come home at 6. You play with your cat at 8. You put the food down right before bed. And over time, every one of those repeated human events begins to reshape when your cat becomes alert. The ancient twilight clock is still ticking away underneath it all, but your daily routine has quietly laid a second clock right down on top of it. This is exactly why no two cats keep the same night. A cat in a quiet city apartment lives a different night than a cat on a working farm, even though the two of them are the very same species, cut from the very same cloth. Weather bends the rhythm. A rainy night may keep an outdoor cat curled up inside. A cold snap can shorten a roaming session down to nothing. A blazing hot summer afternoon might push all the real activity out to the cooler edges of the day. And layered on top of the weather, you've got age and health and whether the cat is spayed or neutered, and how much space it has to move through, and whether there are other animals in the home. Every single one of those factors gives the schedule a little nudge. So when one cat sleeps peacefully straight through midnight while another is patrolling the hallway at 2 in the morning, neither one of them is misbehaving. They are each solving the very same puzzle, when to be awake, with a slightly different handful of pieces. So let's lay that tired old word, nocturnal, to rest, gently and for good. Your cat is not an owl. Your cat is a creature of the twilight, a crepuscular animal whose deepest instincts pull it toward the changing light of dawn and dusk, and whose thoroughly modern life bends that ancient instinct around your dinner schedule, your reading lamp, and the exact moment you finally decide to turn in for the night. And that flexibility, that quiet talent for reshaping its whole schedule around yours, depends on something in your cat's biology that is genuinely strange and completely unlike the way that you sleep. Because when you climb into bed tonight, you are hoping for one long, unbroken block of rest. Your cat has no such plan. Your cat's sleep works nothing like yours, and that single difference is the real reason it is wide awake and staring at your bedroom wall at 3 o'clock in the morning. So let's talk about that. Because here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. When your cat wakes up and starts prowling around at 2 in the morning, have you ever assumed the poor thing simply couldn't sleep? That something was wrong? That it was restless? That it had a bad night the way you sometimes do? Almost every cat owner has thought exactly that at some point, standing bleary-eyed in the kitchen doorway watching their cat trot past. But it turns out you've been reading the whole situation backwards. Your cat waking at 2 in the morning is not a sign that its sleep is broken. It's a sign that its sleep is working exactly the way it was designed to. You and I are built for one long, glorious block of sleep. We lie down at night, we go under, and we hope to stay under for 7 or 8 hours in a single uninterrupted stretch. When that stretch gets chopped up, we feel it. We drag through the next day exhausted and cranky. But your cat runs on a completely different operating system. Instead of one long block, your cat divides its rest into many shorter episodes, scattered right across the full 24 hours. Scientists have a name for this pattern. They call it polyphasic sleep. Poly meaning many, phasic meaning phases. Many phases of sleep rather than one. Picture your cat's actual day, and you'll see it instantly. A nap on the warm chair through the middle of the morning, up for food, back down for an afternoon snooze in a patch of sun, a burst of activity as dusk rolls in, then rest again later that night and again after that. When you add it all up, adult cats are commonly reported to sleep or rest for something like 12 to 16 hours out of every 24, and that number always surprises people. 12 to 16 hours. Your cat spends more than half its life asleep, or at least at rest. Now that figure needs a little bit of care because a cat lying perfectly still with its eyes half closed might be genuinely, deeply asleep, or it might just be quietly resting while remaining aware of everything happening in the room. Those two states can be very hard to tell apart from the outside without actually measuring brain activity, so a lot of that 12 to 16 hour total blends the two together, and the exact amount changes from cat to cat and across a lifetime. Kittens sleep for even longer stretches because their nervous systems, their muscles, and their bones are all busy developing, and sleep is where a lot of that building work gets done. A senior cat often spends more time resting too, sometimes because it's simply slowed down, and sometimes because stiff, aching joints make its active periods shorter. Illness can pile on more tiredness, and certain conditions that come with old age can actually disturb sleep and create more waking at night, which is something we're going to come back to later because it matters enormously. But here's the part that most people never learn. Even your cat's healthy, ordinary sleep is not one single thing. It moves through several completely different states, and each one has its own job to do. Let me walk you through them, because once you understand this, you will never look at a sleeping cat the same way again. The first is light sleep. In light sleep, your cat's body relaxes, but the animal stays incredibly easy to wake. The ears may still turn toward a sound. A tiny movement across the room can pop those eyes open within a second or two. And when you think about it, this is perfect for a small hunter that is also, let's be honest, small enough to be somebody else's dinner. A wild cat dozing near a bush or a pile of rocks gets the benefit of conserving energy without ever going fully offline, never completely losing track of what's creeping around nearby. Your pampered house cat, dozing on the arm of the couch with one ear tilted toward the hallway, is running that exact same ancient program. It is resting, but it is never truly off guard. Then comes deeper sleep. Here the breathing slows down and the body becomes much less responsive to the world. This stage belongs to what scientists call non-rapid eye movement sleep, usually shortened to non-REM sleep. The brain is still active during non-REM, but its electrical patterns are noticeably different from the patterns you'd see when the cat is awake. And this is where a lot of the real maintenance happens. Physical recovery, immune activity, the quiet housekeeping the body does to repair itself and keep everything running. When your cat sinks into that heavy, unbothered sleep where it doesn't so much as twitch when you walk past, this is very likely where it is. And then there's the strangest, most fascinating stage of all, rapid eye movement sleep, or REM. In REM sleep, something remarkable happens. Behind the closed lids, the eyes begin to move, and the brain's activity ramps back up until it looks surprisingly similar to being awake. But at the very same time, the large muscles of the body lose almost all of their normal tension. Your cat goes limp. This temporary loss of muscle tone has a name. Scientists call it atonia, and atonia is doing something genuinely clever. It keeps the body mostly still and safe while the brain goes off on its wild, active journey through the sleep state. Because if the body could move freely during all that intense brain activity, well, imagine a hunting cat physically acting out a chase while it's actually lying on your bed. Atonia is the safety catch that keeps that from happening. But it isn't a perfect catch, and this is the part everyone loves. Small movements still slip through. During REM sleep, you might see your cat's whiskers tremble, an ear might flick, a paw might paddle or twitch, the tip of the tail might jerk. You have almost certainly witnessed this, that moment where your sleeping cat's paws start pedaling and its little mouth makes a silent, chattering motion, and you've thought to yourself, oh, they must be dreaming about chasing something. And it is one of the most charming things a cat does. But I have to be honest with you here, because this channel is about the truth, not just the cute version. Those twitches do not actually prove that your cat is dreaming about a specific bird, or a specific toy, or a specific run down the hallway. What they prove is that the sleeping nervous system is active, firing away behind that peaceful face. We can see the machinery running. We just can't read the screen. Whether there's a mouse in there, or a sunbeam, or something we can't even imagine, stays locked inside your cat. And honestly, there's something beautiful about that. Your cat gets to keep some secrets. Now, if you want to know how we understand any of this at all, the story leads back to one particular scientist and, fittingly, to cats themselves. A French neuroscientist named Michel Jouvet helped uncover this entire system back in the late 1950s and early 1960s, and he did it working with cats. Jouvet studied a region of the brain called the pons, which sits down low near the brainstem. Through his experiments, he helped establish the connection between that active, REM-like brain activity and the loss of normal muscle tone that goes along with it. And he gave the state a name that has stuck ever since. He called it paradoxical sleep. I love that name, and I want you to understand why, because it captures something genuinely wonderful. A paradox is two things that seem like they absolutely should not be able to happen at the same time. And that's exactly what this is. The brain is lit up and racing, looking for all the world like it's wide awake, and yet the body is lying there deeply, completely relaxed, hardly moving at all. Active mind, still body, both at once. Paradoxical sleep. So the next time you catch your cat with its paws twitching and its whiskers trembling in the middle of a nap, you're not just watching a cute quirk. You are watching one of the strangest, most carefully balanced states in all of biology, first mapped out decades ago by a man studying cats, not so different from the one asleep on your lap right now. So let's put the whole night together, because this is where it all clicks into place. Across a single night, your cat might spend a while in light sleep, drop down into a deeper non-REM stage, pass through a stretch of active REM sleep, and then, quite naturally, wake up and check the room. And after it rises, it does the things cats always do. It stretches out the long muscles of its spine and its back legs. It grooms for a bit, cleaning its coat and settling itself after the rest. Maybe it takes a short walk over to the water bowl, or the window, or another room entirely, and then it curls up somewhere new and starts the whole cycle over again. This can happen several times in a single night, while you, right there in the same house, are trying to stay locked inside one long, uninterrupted human sleep. And this, right here, is the answer to the mystery we started with. When your cat wakes you at 2 in the morning, it has not failed to sleep. Not even a little. Its rest has already been carefully spread across all the hours that came before. The morning nap, the afternoon snooze, the evening doze. 2 in the morning is simply one of the natural openings in a polyphasic schedule, a window that leaves plenty of room for a snack, a stroll, a bit of company, or a quiet patrol of the house to make sure everything is where it should be. Your cat isn't broken. Your cat is right on time. Here's a fun one for the comments, and I'm genuinely curious about this one. What is the strangest position you have ever caught your cat sleeping in? The upside-down pretzel, the loaf with the face buried, the one where they're somehow half off the edge of the shelf and still completely unbothered? Tell me down below, because cats sleep in the most gloriously ridiculous shapes, and I want to read every single one. But now, we come to the real question. Because it's one thing for your cat to wake up in the middle of the night. It's another thing entirely for it to then get up, walk confidently across a pitch-dark room, weave between the coffee table and the chair legs without so much as brushing them, and hop cleanly onto a windowsill it can barely see. You would break your toe on the first piece of furniture, your cat glides through it like the lights are on. So how on earth is it doing that? The answer starts with an eye that is one of the most beautifully engineered light-collecting instruments in the entire animal kingdom. Let's clear up the biggest myth about cat eyes right at the start, because I hear it constantly, and it's not quite true. People love to say that cats can see in the dark, and I understand why. Watching your cat move through a black room with total confidence, it certainly looks like magic. But here is the honest truth. Your cat cannot see in complete, total darkness. No animal can. Not owls, not cats, not anything with eyes. And once you understand why, you'll understand something wonderful about how your cat's vision actually works. It comes down to what seeing really is. Vision begins when tiny packets of light, called photons, enter the eye and land on the tissue inside. Everything you have ever seen, every face, every sunset, every one of your cat's whiskers, arrived in your eyes as photons. And here's the thing, if there are no photons at all, there is simply nothing for any eye to work with. You cannot build a picture out of nothing. So in a truly sealed, pitch-black room with zero light, your cat is just as blind as you are. The difference, the thing that makes cats seem so magical in the dark, is that they are astonishingly good at making use of the tiniest scraps of light that are almost always present. A sliver of moonlight through the curtains, the faint glow of a street lamp, a thin line of light leaking under a door. To you, that room looks black. To your cat, thanks to a series of brilliant adaptations, that room is dim, but perfectly navigable. Your cat is not seeing in the dark. Your cat is seeing in almost dark, and doing it better than nearly any animal you'll ever share a home with. So how does it pull that off? The first trick starts right at the front of the eye, at the pupil, that dark opening in the very center. Your cat's pupil is one of the most dramatic, flexible pupils in the entire animal world, and you've watched it change 1,000 times without thinking about it. Out in bright sunlight, your cat's pupil narrows down into that famous, thin, vertical slit, barely a sliver. That slit is a protective measure. It clamps down hard on the amount of light pouring in, shielding the delicate, light-sensitive tissue deeper inside the eye from being overwhelmed. But as the evening comes on and the light fades, the muscles in the iris, the colored ring around the pupil, relax and let that pupil open up. And it doesn't just open a little. In low light, your cat's pupil can swell into a huge, round, black circle that swallows almost the whole visible eye. That enormous open pupil is a wide open doorway, letting in every last scrap of available light. So that faint moon glow through the window suddenly becomes usable information. That thin line under the door becomes something to work with. Your cat has, in effect, opened the aperture all the way a photographer does when shooting in a dim room. Once the light gets through that wide pupil and passes through the lens, it travels to the back of the eye and lands on the retina. The retina is a thin layer of nerve tissue lining the inside of the eyeball, packed with special cells that react to light and turn it into signals the brain can read. and there are two main types of these cells, and the balance between them tells you almost everything about what an animal's eyes are built for. The two types are called rods and cones. Rod cells are the low-light specialists. They work beautifully when light is weak, and they're especially good at detecting movement and broad changes in brightness. Cone cells are the opposite. They need plenty of light to do their job, and they're the ones that handle color vision and fine, sharp detail. Now here's the key. A cat's retina is built heavily, overwhelmingly, around rod cells. Rods, rods, and more rods. And that tells you exactly who your cat really is. This is the eye of an animal that spends its most important hours near dawn, near dusk, and in the dim stretches in between. All those rods mean your cat is exquisitely sensitive to faint light, and above all, to motion. A small movement near the floor, a tiny scuttle along the baseboard jumps out to your cat even when the object itself is hard to make out clearly. A moth crossing a pale wall may practically glow with significance to your cat, while a toy sitting perfectly still just a few feet away might barely register at all. Your cat's eyes are, quite literally, motion detectors first and picture takers second. But the pupil and the rods are only the first half of the story, because your cat has one more piece of equipment that you do not have, and it is the single most famous feature of the feline eye, even if most people don't know its name. It's called the tapetum lucidum. That name comes from Latin, and it means beautifully bright tapestry. And the tapetum lucidum is exactly that, a shimmering mirror-like layer that sits behind the retina, and it is the secret weapon of night vision. Here's how it works, and it's genuinely elegant. When light enters your cat's eye and reaches the retina, some of those photons get absorbed and turned into signals on the first pass, just like in your eye. But some of the light slips right through the retina without being caught. In your eye, that light is simply lost, gone, wasted. But in your cat's eye, it hits the tapetum lucidum, and the tapetum acts like a mirror, bouncing that light back forward through the light-sensitive cells a second time. Think about what that means. Every photon gets two chances to be detected instead of one. The retina gets a second bite at the very same scrap of light. In a dim room where every single photon is precious, that second pass can make an enormous difference. It's like reading a faint message twice to make sure you catch every word. This is one of the biggest reasons your cat can navigate a room that looks pitch black to you. It's squeezing double the value out of the little light that's there. And that same mirror is responsible for something you have absolutely seen. That eerie, glowing shine when your cat's eyes catch the light in a dark room. You point a flashlight or headlight sweep across the yard, or you take a photo with the flash on, and suddenly your cat's eyes are lit up like two glowing coins. Green, usually. Sometimes yellow, sometimes a bluish green. That glow is the tapetum lucidum doing its job right in front of you. Light enters the eye, hits that mirror, and bounces straight back out toward the source, and you see it as eye shine. So it's not that your cat's eyes are producing light, the way a lamp does. Your cat's eyes are not glowing on their own. What you're seeing is light that went in, hit the mirror, and came right back out again. And the exact color of that shine shifts depending on the angle, the kind of light, and small differences within each individual eye. And your cat is in good company here. This isn't some exclusive cat feature. Dogs have a tapetum lucidum too, which is why your neighbor's dog gets that same glowing eye look in a photo. Deer have one, which is why their eyes flash back at you in a car's headlights on a dark road. Raccoons use the very same structure to prowl around at night. All of these animals, in one way or another, live at least part of their lives in low light, and all of them evolve the same brilliant solution, a mirror in the back of the eye to make the most of the dark. Your house cat is carrying around one of nature's most successful pieces of optical engineering, the same technology deer use to survive on the roadside and raccoons use to raid your trash cans. But, and there's always a but in biology, this incredible night vision comes at a price. Nothing is free. All that light-gathering power, all those rods, that reflecting mirror bouncing light around, it comes with a trade-off, and the trade-off is sharpness. When light gets reflected back through the eye by the tapetum, it can scatter a little on its way, and that scattering slightly blurs the image. On top of that, an eye built mostly for rods in motion just isn't built for crisp, fine detail. So here's the deal your cat's eyes have struck. In good daylight, you, the human, can actually see fine edges and small details far more clearly than your cat ever could. Your cat traded away some of that daytime sharpness in exchange for extraordinary sensitivity in the dark. It's a beautiful bargain. Your cat sees a softer, fuzzier world, but it can see that world when there's barely any light at all. Color takes a hit in the dark, too. Now, cats aren't colorblind, that's another myth. Research shows cats can tell some colors apart, especially in the blue and yellow range. But their color world is narrower than ours to begin with, and as the light fades, color becomes less and less useful to any eye, yours included. So at night, color mostly drops away, and what matters instead is contrast and motion. A hallway at night isn't a rich, colorful scene to your cat. It's a landscape of broad shapes, useful edges, and patches of different brightness. The lower edge of a door, the dark gap beneath the couch, a table leg breaking up the pale line of the floor, and crucially, anything that moves. So let's step back and really picture what your cat sees at 3 in the morning, standing in the middle of your dark living room. That huge black pupil is open as wide as it will go, drinking in the faint glow from the window. The retina, wall to wall with rod cells, is soaking up every scrap of that light and passing it through twice, thanks to that shimmering mirror in the back. The picture it. Builds is soft and grainy, low on fine detail and low on color, but rich in exactly the things that matter to a hunter. The shapes of the room, the edges and gaps where prey might hide, and above all, the slightest hint of movement. And your cat fills in everything else from memory, because it has crossed this room 10,000 times and knows precisely where the furniture sits. So while you would stumble and curse and stub your toe, your cat moves through the dark like it owns it. Because in a very real sense, at that hour, it does. Which brings us to one of the strangest, most quietly unsettling things a cat does at night. That moment when your cat sits down, perfectly still, and stares at a blank wall. Just stares, for what feels like forever, at nothing. Nothing you can see anyway. And if you've ever felt a little chill run down your spine watching that, you are not alone. But there is a real, ordinary, and honestly fascinating explanation for it. And it has everything to do with the way we've just described your cat's eyes. Because your cat isn't staring at nothing. Your cat is staring at something. You just can't see it yet. So let's really dig into that wall-staring cat, because it might be the single most reported spooky cat behavior there is. Somebody, somewhere, is lying in bed right now watching their cat sit bolt upright in the dark, laser-focused on an empty stretch of wall and quietly wondering if their house is haunted. I promise you, it is not. What's actually happening is far more interesting than a ghost, and it flows directly from everything we just learned about those eyes. Remember the 2 big truths about how your cat sees. First, that retina is packed with rod cells, which makes your cat exquisitely, almost obsessively sensitive to motion. And second, in dim light, color and fine detail fall away, leaving contrast and movement as the things that carry the most information. Put those 2 facts together, and here's what you get. For your cat, movement isn't just interesting. Movement is urgent. Movement is the whole point. A big object sitting still, a chair, a lamp, the wall itself has been in exactly the same place for hours, and your cat's nervous system has long since filed it away as background, not worth a second glance. But the tiniest new motion, a flicker, a shift, a crawl, cuts straight through all that and grabs your cat's full attention in a fraction of a second. The nervous system gives that change top priority. And this makes perfect sense the moment you remember what your cat really is. It's a small predator, and it evolved hunting animals that almost never make things easy. Think about how a mouse actually moves. It doesn't stroll casually across the middle of an open floor where anybody could see it. It hugs the walls, it darts under plants, it slips through narrow gaps where its body stays half hidden. Small birds flit between branches. Beetles vanish under a leaf and reappear a few inches away. So a cat that pays sharp attention to movement along the edges of a space has a genuine survival advantage, a real head start on spotting dinner before it disappears. Millions of years of that shaped the animal in your living room. Now bring that ancient instinct indoors, and you'll suddenly recognize your cat's favorite staring spots. A baseboard forms a long, low border running right along the floor, exactly the kind of edge a mouse would travel. The dark space under the couch is perfect cover. The gap under a door is a narrow opening where light, scent, and movement all leak through from the next room. Curtains create shifting edges when a breath of air from a vent nudges the fabric even a couple of centimeters. Every one of these places pulls at your cat's attention, because every one of them looks, to that ancient hunter's brain, exactly like the kind of place where small prey lives, moves, and hides. Your cat isn't drawn to the wall itself. It's drawn to the edge, the gap, the border, the seam, all the places where something might appear. And contrast pulls it in even further. Contrast just means a visible difference between one part of a scene and the part right next to it. A pale thing against a dark background, or a dark thing against a bright one. A light-colored insect creeping across a dark curtain lights up with contrast. A dark little shape scurrying across a pale wall does the same. And here's one you have almost certainly witnessed without understanding it. At night. A car passes on the street outside, and its headlights throw a faint reflection that slides slowly across your ceiling. Or a porch light does the same thing, and your cat locks on and tracks that moving glow with its whole head, following it across the room, even though the actual source is outside and far away. To you, if you even notice it, it's a meaningless smear of light. To your cat, it's moving, it has contrast, and therefore it demands to be watched. So the next time your cat is fixated on what looks like a bare, empty wall, here is what is very likely going on. There may be a tiny spider making its slow way near the ceiling, far too small and far too high for you to spot. There may be the shadow of a branch outside shifting gently under a street lamp. There may be a faint reflection sliding across the painted plaster and then vanishing. Your cat, with its motion-hungry eyes and its huge light-gathering pupils, is catching something real that is simply below your threshold to see. The house isn't haunted. Your cat just has better equipment than you do. But often, it's not the eyes alone, and this is where it gets even richer. Sometimes your cat has also heard something near that same spot, or caught a whiff of a scent drifting from that direction, and its eyes are just the final piece pointing the same way. You might notice that while your cat stares straight ahead, its ears are making tiny adjustments, rotating a few degrees this way and that. Its nose keeps working the air throughout the pause. That fixed, eerie stare isn't one sense operating in isolation. It's often the visible endpoint of 2 or 3 senses, all quietly narrowing in on the very same patch of the room at once. Your cat has triangulated on something, and the stare is just the part you can see. And this brings us to a behavior that unsettles people even more than the staring, which is the stillness. Because when your cat locks onto something, it doesn't fidget. It goes utterly, completely motionless, sometimes for minutes on end, frozen like a little statue, every muscle held in place. And to a human, that intensity of stillness can look almost unnatural, even a bit unnerving. But it is one of the most ancient and purposeful things your cat does, and it has a name. This is ambush hunting. An ambush predator doesn't chase its prey down across an open field. That's not the feline way. Instead, it waits. It picks a spot, holds absolutely still, and lets the movement come to it, right up until the prey is close enough for a single explosive strike. And that stillness is not laziness or a trance. It's a tool, and a brilliant one. Holding perfectly motionless does 2 crucial things at once. It keeps the hunter silent, and it keeps the hunter invisible. Because remember, prey animals are watching for movement too. A mouse's eyes are hunting for the exact same thing your cat's are, the little flicker that means danger. So the cat that can hold itself completely still becomes, in effect, part of the furniture, and the prey never sees the threat until it's far too late. And here's the thing to understand about that frozen cat. Underneath all that stillness, it is anything but relaxed. The muscles are quietly loaded and ready, coiled like a spring. The pupils are blown wide open in the low light. The whiskers may angle forward, reaching toward the target, gathering information. That statue-still cat can hold its position for several minutes when the target is hidden or moving slowly, and the whole time it is working. It's collecting information, calculating, waiting for the one right moment. It looks like your cat is doing nothing. Your cat is, in fact, doing everything. Sometimes, of course, it all pays off in a sudden pounce. But, and this is important, and honestly kind of relatable, an awful lot of these intense little vigils simply end with nothing at all. The insect slips into a crack in the wall and is gone. The reflection fades away the second the car turns the corner. The scent thins out and drifts off. And your cat, after all that concentration, all that coiled readiness, just decides the whole thing is no longer worth its time. It blinks, it relaxes, it gets up, maybe has a little stretch, and wanders off as if the last 5 minutes never happened, leaving you sitting there wondering what on earth that was all about. This, by the way, is deeply wonderfully normal. Your cat is running countless tiny hunting sequences all night. long, and the vast majority of them end in a shrug. That's just the life of a hunter. Most stalks come to nothing. The animal that treats every flicker as worth investigating is the animal that, in the wild, eventually catches enough to survive. There's something almost poignant in it when you really think about it. Your cat, curled up in a heated home with a bowl of food that is never allowed to go empty, is still out there every single night, running the full, ancient routine, watching the edges, freezing at the flicker, holding the ambush, launching the strike, mostly for nothing, and then doing it all over again an hour later. It doesn't need to hunt. It hunts anyway, because that's not a habit. That's who your cat is, right down to the core. And I'd love to know, because I know so many of you have seen this. Does your cat have one specific spot in the house that it stares at more than anywhere else? A particular corner, a certain doorway, one stretch of wall it just cannot leave alone? Drop the location in the comments, tell me where your cat's mystery spot is, and let's see if there's a pattern. I have a strong suspicion a lot of you are about to describe the exact same kinds of edges and gaps. But here's the part of this that truly should stop you in your tracks. Everything we've talked about so far, the wall staring, the frozen ambush, the tracking of shadows you can't even see, all of that is your cat's eyes at work. And your cat's eyes, as remarkable as they are not even its most powerful sense in the dark. Not by a long way, because while those eyes are busy scanning the edges of the room for the faintest flicker of movement, something else is going on that is, frankly, almost hard to believe. Your cat is listening to an entire world of sound that is completely, permanently sealed off from you, a world happening inside your own walls that you will never once hear. And that world is what we're stepping into next. Here is a fact that I think is genuinely one of the most astonishing things about the animal in your home, and almost nobody knows it. Your cat can hear sounds that are physically impossible for you to hear. Not quieter sounds, not more distant sounds. Sounds in a range that your ears simply cannot register at all, ever, no matter how hard you try. There is, right now, a whole layer of sound in your house that exists for your cat and does not exist for you. And a lot of it is coming from inside your walls. Let me explain what I mean, because this is where your cat starts to feel almost like it has a superpower. Sound travels in waves, and we measure how high or low a sound is by its frequency. Low frequencies are the deep rumbles, the bass. High frequencies are the squeaks and whistles at the top of the range. Human hearing tops out at a certain ceiling, and once a sound climbs above that ceiling, it vanishes for us completely. We're just deaf to it. But your cat's ceiling is dramatically higher than yours. Your cat can hear frequencies far above the upper limit of human hearing, well up into the ultrasonic range. And here is why that matters so enormously, why it isn't just a fun piece of trivia. The tiny animals your cat evolved to hunt, the mice, the rats, the little rodents scurrying through the dark, communicate with each other using high-pitched squeaks, many of which land right in that ultrasonic zone. A mother mouse calling her pups, two mice chattering to each other in a nest. Those sounds are, to us, total silence. To your cat, they are a dinner bell. So picture this. It's the middle of the night. Your house is what you would call silent. You can't hear a thing, but your cat is lying there, or sitting up suddenly at attention, because inside the wall or under the floorboards or behind the kitchen cabinets, there is a faint rustle, a scratch, a squeak, an entire tiny conversation happening in a frequency band you were born unable to access. When your cat suddenly snaps to attention and fixes on a spot on the wall for no reason you can detect, this is very often the reason. It's not seeing a ghost, it's hearing a mouse, or an insect moving in the vegetation outside, or the subtle sound of something shifting in a space you didn't even know was there. Your cat is tuned in to a radio station your body cannot receive. But raw sensitivity is only half of it. Your cat doesn't just hear these faint high sounds, it can locate them with startling precision. And for that, you have to look at the ears themselves, because a cat's ears are not just receivers. They are steerable. Each ear can rotate, swiveling around to aim itself at a sound, and remarkably, each ear can move independently of the other. You've seen this 100 times without registering what a marvel it is. Your cat is lying with its eyes closed, seemingly asleep, and you say its name softly from across the room, and one ear swivels toward you like a little satellite dish, while the rest of the cat doesn't move a muscle. That's your cat's brain comparing the sound arriving at each ear, the tiny difference in timing, the tiny difference in loudness, and using those differences to pinpoint exactly where the sound came from. It swivels the ears to lock the reading in, and it does all of this before it ever bothers to turn its head. By the time your cat finally looks at something, its ears have usually already found it. Now stack this on top of the eyes we talked about. In the dark, your cat's motion-hungry eyes are scanning the edges of the room, and its swiveling, ultrasonic-tuned ears are sweeping the same space for the faintest sound. When both of them point to the same spot, that patch of wall, that gap under the cabinet, that shadow by the door, your cat commits. That is the moment the whole body goes still and the ambush begins. The stare you can see is the eyes, but very often the ears found it first, catching a squeak from inside the wall that you will go your entire life without ever hearing. When you really absorb that, the wall staring stops being creepy and starts being kind of magnificent. And believe it or not, we're still not done with your cat's toolkit for moving through the dark, because eyes and ears are only the long-range senses. Up close, when your cat is threading between the legs of the dining chairs or squeezing along the gap behind the couch in total blackness, it switches to an entirely different set of instruments. And the first of those is the one growing right off its face, the whiskers. We tend to think of whiskers as decorative, as the finishing touch on a cute little face. They are nothing of the sort. Whiskers are precision sensory equipment. Each whisker is rooted deep in the skin, surrounded by a rich bundle of nerves, and it registers the faintest contact and the slightest bending. When your cat moves through a tight, dark space, its whiskers are constantly brushing against surfaces, reading the world by touch, feeding the brain a live map of what's just ahead and just to the sides. A whisker grazes the edge of the door frame, and your cat knows exactly how much room it has. Whiskers can even pick up on tiny changes in the air currents that flow and shift around solid objects, so that in some cases your cat can sense an obstacle nearby before it has even touched it, just from the way the air moves. This is a huge part of how your cat glides through a pitch-black room without clipping a single thing. Its face is quite literally feeling its way through the dark, faster than any eye could manage in that little light. Then there are the paws. The pads of your cat's feet are far more sensitive than they look. They report pressure and texture, telling your cat about every surface it steps on, the give of the carpet, the hard edge of the tile, the smooth cool of the countertop. Your cat can feel the difference underfoot, and it uses that information to move silently and surely across a floor it can barely see. And working alongside all of this is a sense you don't usually even think of as a sense, because it runs completely in the background. It's called proprioception. Proprioception is your body's built-in awareness of where all its parts are in space, even with your eyes shut. Right now, without looking, you know where your hand is. That's proprioception. Your cat has an extraordinarily refined version of this. It always knows precisely where each of its limbs is positioned, how its spine is arranged, how its weight is balanced, and it can make lightning-fast adjustments in mid-air or mid-leap without needing to see any of it. When your cat lands a jump onto a narrow shelf in the dark and sticks it perfectly, that's proprioception guiding its body through a movement its eyes barely contributed to. And to top it all off, deep inside your cat's inner ear sits its balance system, the organs that track motion and orientation and keep your cat oriented in space. This is the machinery behind that. Famous feline poise, the way a cat can twist and correct and land on its feet with such uncanny grace. In the dark, when a leap doesn't go quite as planned or a landing needs a last-second adjustment, it's this inner ear balance system, working hand in hand with proprioception, that saves the day. So step back and take in the full picture of your cat crossing a dark room, because it is genuinely breathtaking when you see it all at once. The eyes are pulling in every last photon and hunting for movement. The ears are swiveling independently, sweeping for sounds pitched far above anything you could hear. The whiskers are reading the surfaces and the very air just ahead. The paw pads are reporting every texture underfoot. Proprioception is tracking the exact position of every limb. And the balance organs in the inner ear are keeping the whole thing perfectly upright and poised. All of that is running at the same time, seamlessly, effortlessly. While your cat strolls across a room, you would need a flashlight and a lot of luck to cross without injury. Your cat isn't just seeing in the dark. Your cat is feeling, hearing, and sensing its way through a fully detailed world that is, to you, an empty black void. It is, without exaggeration, one of the finest all-terrain, all-conditions navigation systems in the entire animal kingdom, and it's asleep on your bed every afternoon. But even this, all these incredible senses working together, still doesn't fully explain how your cat moves through your home at night with such total, unhesitating confidence, because senses tell your cat what's happening right now. They don't, on their own, tell it where the water bowl is, or which route leads to the bedroom, or where the good high perch is to watch the room from. For that, your cat relies on something else entirely, something built up over months and years of living in your home. It relies on memory and on a second, invisible map of your house that you cannot see, cannot smell, and have absolutely no idea is even there. And that hidden map is where we're headed next. So here is something that will change the way you look at your own living room forever. You think of your home as a visual place. You see the walls, the furniture, the framed photos, the color of the couch. That's your house. But your cat lives in a completely different version of the exact same rooms, laid right on top of yours, and it is written entirely in scent. To your cat, your home is not primarily something to look at. It is something to smell. There is an invisible map spread across every surface, every doorway, every object in your house, a rich, detailed, constantly updated chemical map, and your cat reads it fluently, and you cannot perceive a single line of it. Let's start with how that map gets written, because your cat is writing on it all day long, right in front of you, and you've probably never realized what it's doing. You know how your cat rubs its cheek against the corner of the coffee table, against the doorframe, against your ankle, against the leg of a chair? That is not just affection, though it can be that too. Your cat has scent glands in its cheeks, and when it rubs its face on something, it's depositing its own personal scent, laying down a marker. Cats do the same thing when they scratch, because there are scent glands in their paws as well. So that scratching post isn't only about claw maintenance, it's also a signpost. Every one of these little marks contains information, chemical signals, including what are called pheromones, which are scent-based messages animals use to communicate. Your cat is, quite literally, signing its name all over your house, over and over, in an ink you can't see. And the marvelous thing is what this scent map does for your cat. When your cat rubs its face on the same corners day after day, it's building a landscape of familiar, comforting, this is mine smells. A well-marked home is a home that smells safe. It smells known. It smells like the cat's own territory, which is exactly why cats can get so unsettled when you bring home something big and new and unscented, a new couch, a new appliance, or when you clean too thoroughly and wipe away their careful markings. Suddenly, a piece of their map has gone blank. But on an ordinary night, in an ordinary home, that scent map is complete and current, and it is doing quiet, constant work, telling your cat at every step, you are home, you are safe. This is your place. But the scent map isn't only about comfort. It's also a record of everything that has passed through. Think about how much scent information flows into your house every single day. You come home carrying the smell of the outside world on your clothes and your shoes. The air from an open window brings in the neighborhood. If you have another pet, its scent is everywhere. Every visitor leaves a trace. And here's the key. All of this settles onto the objects and passageways of your home, and it is constantly changing. So when your cat makes its rounds at night, moving from room to room, it isn't just walking. It's reading the news. It's checking what's changed since the last patrol. Whose shoes are by the door tonight? What came in on the breeze? Whether anything is different from the way it was a few hours ago. Your cat's nightly walk through the house is, in part, a reading session, catching up on a stream of information that is completely invisible to you. Now, scent tells your cat what has been here and whether things are as they should be. But there's a second layer to your cat's mental map, and it's just as important, because on top of that chemical landscape, your cat carries a detailed physical memory of the actual layout of your home. This is called spatial memory, and it is the reason your cat can navigate confidently in near total darkness. Your cat knows, without needing to see it, where the furniture sits. It knows where the water bowl is, and the litter box, and the food. It knows which windowsill catches the best view, which chair is the warmest, where the doorways are, which routes lead where. All of that is stored in memory, mapped out from countless daytime crossings, and it's available to your cat even when the lights are off and its eyes are working with almost nothing. This is why, when your cat gets up at 3 in the morning, it doesn't stumble around cautiously, feeling its way like a person groping for a light switch. It moves with purpose. It goes somewhere. And this is one of the most beautiful things to understand about your cat's night. That midnight walk you sometimes catch a glimpse of, the cat trotting down the hall and disappearing into another room, is very often a route, a patrol. Your cat is following a familiar path through the house, and along that single path, it may be checking on several important places at once: the food bowl to see if anything's appeared, a favorite window to check the dark yard outside, a particular resting spot, a doorway that leads somewhere interesting, the scent markers along the way. It's not wandering aimlessly. It's making the rounds, running a check on its whole territory, hitting the key points in an order it has walked 1,000 times. And I want you to really sit with what this means, because it reframes the whole picture. When you're asleep, your cat isn't just killing time until you wake up and refill the bowl. It is actively patrolling and maintaining its territory. It is confirming that its home, its safe, scent-marked, well-mapped domain is intact and in order. In the wild, a cat's survival depends on knowing its territory cold, on noticing the instant something is out of place, a rival's scent, a disturbed area, a new threat. Your indoor cat is running that exact same ancient program on your 2-bedroom apartment. Every night, it confirms that the borders are secure, the map is current, and everything is where it should be. And then, satisfied, it curls up and rests until something prompts it to check again. There's a real tenderness in this when you think about it from your cat's side. Your home isn't just where your cat happens to live. It is your cat's entire world, its whole universe, mapped in scent and memory down to the last corner. And your cat takes care of that world. It tends it. It walks it. It keeps its records updated in the dark while you sleep. A small, diligent guardian of a territory you didn't even know needed guarding. The next time you catch your cat making its quiet midnight rounds, you might see it a little differently. That's not a restless animal. That's a creature moving through its kingdom, checking that all is well. And here's a question for the comments that I think a lot of you are going to recognize instantly. Does your cat have a fixed nighttime route? A specific path it takes through the house? The same stops in the same order night after night? Maybe you've heard it, the pad of paws. Following the exact same trail, the little paws at the same window every time. Tell me about your cat's patrol route down below. I find these endlessly fascinating, and I'd bet the paths are more consistent than you've ever noticed. So now we have the full foundation. We understand your cat's twilight clock, its broken up polyphasic sleep, its light-hungry eyes, its ultrasonic ears, its whiskers and paws and balance, and now its invisible map of scent and memory. Your cat is awake at night. It can see and hear and feel its way through the dark, and it knows its territory intimately. But all of that raises one final driving question. What is it actually doing with all this equipment? What is the point of it all? Because a fully fed house cat with a bowl that never empties has no need to catch a single thing. And yet, night after night, it stalks, it freezes, it pounces, it hunts. So why? Why does an animal that never has to hunt for its dinner spend its nights hunting anyway? The answer reveals something profound about what your cat truly is underneath all that domestic comfort. And it's the heart of everything we've been building toward. The answer is that your cat hunts at night because hunting is not something your cat does. Hunting is something your cat is. It's not a behavior you can feed away with a full bowl. It's wired into the deepest part of the animal, and no amount of comfort, safety, or premium food will ever switch it off. Your cat comes fully equipped with a complete hunting program, an entire sequence of built-in actions, and that program does not care one bit that dinner is guaranteed. It wants to run, and your dark, quiet house at night is the perfect place to run it. Let me show you that program, because once you can see it, you'll recognize it in your cat every single day, in play in the night, in the way it watches a bird through the window. Scientists break the hunting sequence into a chain of stages. First comes orientation, the moment your cat snaps its attention towards something, that flicker of movement, that sound. Then stalking, the low, slow, creeping approach, body pressed down, moving in careful increments. Then the pounce or the chase, the explosive burst that closes the distance, and finally the grab, the capture. Orient, stalk, pounce, grab. That's the ancient choreography every cat is born knowing, and your cat runs pieces of it constantly. Here's the crucial part, and it explains so much of what looks like weird cat behavior. That sequence is flexible. Your cat doesn't have to run the whole thing start to finish. It can perform just one part and abandon the rest, and it does this all the time. It might stalk something intently and then simply lose interest and walk away before the pounce. It might pounce on something with no real stalk at all. It might chase and never grab. Each piece can fire on its own, triggered by the right kind of cue. And the number one cue, the thing that lights up this whole system, is prey-like motion. Anything that moves the way a small animal moves can set the program running. And this is exactly why a full food bowl changes nothing. Your cat's hunting drive was never really about hunger in the first place. Watch what happens. An insect flits near a lamp, and your well-fed cat is instantly locked on, stalking. A toy skitters behind the couch, and the chase is on. The edge of a blanket shifts as you turn over in bed, and a paw shoots out to pin it. Your cat has plenty of food. Your cat is not hungry. But the motion pulled the trigger, and the ancient sequence fired anyway, because that's what it's built to do. Hunger and hunting are two separate systems in your cat, and understanding that unlocks the mystery of the well-fed cat that still can't stop chasing things, which means every one of those play sessions your cat loves is not really just play at all. When your cat goes wild after a feather wand, or ambushes a toy mouse, or launches itself at a crumpled ball of paper, it is running the real hunting sequence on a stand-in target. The orient, the stalk, the pounce, the grab, it's all there. Complete, just aimed at a toy instead of a mouse. Play carries a real, unbroken biological connection to the hunting behavior of your cat's wild ancestors. This is why play matters so much more than we tend to think. It isn't a frivolous extra. It's your cat getting to be what it actually is, getting to run the program it was born to run, in a safe and satisfying way. A cat that never gets to hunt something, even a toy, is a cat with a powerful instinct and nowhere to put it. Now let's talk about the behavior that brings so many of you to videos like this one in the first place. The 3 a.m. explosion. You know the one. Your cat has been perfectly calm all evening, and then, in the dead of night, it detonates. A sudden frantic sprint down the hallway, a wild dash up and over the back of the couch, a skid around the corner, a leap onto the bed, a pounce on absolutely nothing, and then, just as suddenly, it stops, sits down, and starts calmly grooming as if none of it ever happened. People call these the zoomies, and if you've ever been jolted awake by a cat doing laps of your bedroom at full speed, you have my sympathy, and you are far from alone. So what on earth is that? Well, put it together with everything we now know. Your cat is a crepuscular hunter, wired to have bursts of activity in the dark hours. It's got a body built for explosive predatory action, that orient, stalk, pounce program, loaded and ready, and it has spent much of the day resting in that polyphasic pattern, conserving energy in nap after nap. So here is a small predator, primed for action, most naturally active at exactly these hours, with a full tank of energy it hasn't burned off, living in a safe home where it doesn't actually need to spend that energy catching real prey. That energy doesn't just evaporate, it builds. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, it simply has to go somewhere. The zoomies are, in large part, that stored up predatory energy, finding a release, the hunting engine revving hard with no mouse to chase, so it chases the hallway instead. If your cat isn't getting enough real activity and play during the day, that midnight burst tends to be bigger and more frequent because there's even more pent-up fuel with nowhere to go. And there's often another ingredient in that early morning chaos, and it's one you might be accidentally adding yourself: food. Your cat's body clock, its circadian rhythm, that internal roughly 24-hour timer, often has it stirring toward alertness in the pre-dawn hours anyway. But layer a learned expectation on top of that, and it gets supercharged. Researchers actually have a term for this. They call it food anticipatory activity, the rise in movement that happens before an expected meal even arrives. Your cat may get up, head toward the feeding area, start vocalizing, or come stare at the person who usually fills the bowl, all before there's any food in sight. The meal hasn't happened yet, but the usual time and all the familiar cues around it already carry meaning, and they set the body in motion. And here's where I have to gently point a finger, because so many of us have done this without realizing. Suppose your cat wakes near dawn, driven by that internal clock, and starts meowing beside your bed. And suppose you, exhausted, eventually drag yourself up and fill the bowl just to make it stop. You have just taught your cat something, The food rewarded the behavior that came right before it, the early morning wake-up call. This is a process called reinforcement, and reinforcement makes a behavior more likely to happen again because it worked. No training session required. It just happened naturally, in the dark, half asleep. And after a few successful mornings, your clever cat starts arriving earlier, calling louder, maybe adding a paw tap to your face for good measure. Your responses have quietly become part of the machinery of its schedule. In a very real sense, a cat that wakes you at 5 for breakfast is a cat you accidentally trained to do exactly that. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty, so please don't. I'm telling you because it's genuinely useful to understand. Your cat's night is a blend of two things: its deep biology and its learned experience in your specific home. The twilight clock and the hunting drive are the biology, ancient and unchangeable. But the exact 5 a.m. wake-up, the specific route to the bowl, the particular meow that gets results, those are learned, shaped by what has worked in your house over time. And the hopeful flip side of that is this: if a behavior can be learned, it can also, with patience and consistency, be reshaped by changing what does and doesn't get rewarded. Your cat's nightlife isn't fixed in stone. Part of it is a conversation between the two of you, carried out over months, mostly while one of you is asleep. So that's the hunter, wide awake in the dark, running its ancient program on toys and shadows and empty hallways, its energy building through the day and releasing in a midnight sprint, its clock and its learned habits pulling it toward your bedside before dawn. But there is one more piece to your cat's night, and honestly, it might be the most touching one of all. Because for all this talk of your cat as a solitary hunter, a self-contained little predator patrolling its territory, that's not the whole truth. Something pulls your cat back, again and again, in the middle of the night, to one particular place. Back to you. And why it does that, what you actually mean to your cat in the dark, is a story that goes right to the heart of the bond between you. Think about what it means that your cat comes to your bed at night. Here is an animal we constantly describe as independent, aloof, solitary, a creature that supposedly needs no one. And yet, in the darkest, quietest, most vulnerable hours, when its ancient instincts are most awake, that self-sufficient little hunter chooses over and over to come and be near you. It could sleep anywhere. It has a whole territory to choose from, warm spots and hidden spots and high perches all over the house. But again and again, it comes back to the person asleep in the bed. That choice means something, and it means several things at once. Let's start with the most practical one, because it's real and it matters, and it's warmth. Your cat runs at a body temperature a little higher than yours, and it genuinely loves heat. It seeks out warmth the way it seeks out almost nothing else: the sunbeam on the floor, the spot on top of the warm laptop, the radiator. And you, lying in a soft bed under blankets, are one of the best heat sources in the entire house. You are, from your cat's point of view, a large, reliable, breathing radiator that stays warm all night long. So part of why your cat curls up against your legs or presses into your side is beautifully simple. You're warm, and the bed is soft, and your cat is an expert, lifelong connoisseur of warm, soft places. Never underestimate how much of cat behavior comes down to the relentless pursuit of comfort. But if it were only about warmth, any warm spot would do. And it isn't only about warmth, because the second reason cuts much deeper, and it's about safety. Remember what we said early on. Sleep is the most vulnerable thing a small animal ever does. When your cat sleeps, it can't watch, it can't run, it can't defend itself. In the wild, choosing where to sleep is a life or death decision, and a cat will only truly let its guard down in a place it feels completely secure. So when your cat chooses to sleep pressed against you, or curled on your chest, or tucked into the crook of your knees, it is making one of the most meaningful statements a cat can make. It is telling you that it feels safe with you, safe enough to switch off, safe enough to be defenseless right next to you. That is not a small thing. That is your cat handing you its trust in the most complete form it has to give. The independent hunter has decided that you are the safest place in its entire world to close its eyes. And there's a third layer, and this one is genuinely moving once you understand it. To your cat, on some deep level, you may occupy a role a lot like a parent. Think about how kittens live. A kitten sleeps piled up against its mother and litter mates, warm and safe and secure. That early experience, warmth plus safety plus closeness equals rest, gets wired in deep. And many of the affectionate things your adult cat does carry the echo of that kittenhood bond. When your cat kneads on the blanket with its front paws before settling down, that soft, rhythmic pushing, it's echoing the motion kittens make against their mother while nursing, a gesture tied to comfort and contentment. When your adult cat seeks out your warmth and your body to sleep against, it is, in a sense, returning to that original feeling of safety it first knew as a kitten, curled against its mother. You have become, in your cat's emotional world, a source of that same deep security, the warmth, the safety, the closeness. You provide all three, just as its mother once did. So when you add it all together, a cat sleeping across your legs at 3 in the morning may be drawing on all of these at once. The warmth of your body, the safety of your presence, the familiar, comforting habit of it, the echo of an ancient bond. It's rarely just one thing. It's a whole quiet bundle of reasons, all pointing to the same soft conclusion. Your cat wants to be near you in the dark when it matters most. Now, I want to be honest and fair here, because not every cat is a bed sleeper, and if yours isn't, I don't want you sitting there feeling like your cat doesn't love you, because that would be completely wrong. Some cats show their nighttime attachment from a little distance. Maybe your cat doesn't sleep on you, but it sleeps in the same room, on a nearby chair, or in its own bed in the corner, or in that sheltered spot under your bed. That is still attachment. That is still your cat choosing to spend its most vulnerable hours in your space, within your orbit, close to you. Cats vary enormously in how much physical contact they want, and a cat that prefers to sleep 3 feet away is not less bonded than a cat that sleeps on your pillow. It just expresses the same trust at a different distance. The attachment is real either way. Some of us like to be hugged all night, and some of us like our own side of the bed. Cats are exactly the same. And here's the thing that makes the cat-human bond so special and so different from what people often expect. Your cat's affection for you does not erase its independence. Both are true at the same time. Your cat can be deeply attached to you and still be a self-directed little creature that makes its own choices, comes and goes on its own terms, and keeps a piece of itself entirely its own. That's not coldness, that's just the shape of a cat's love. It stays and it chooses you, not because it needs you to survive, but because it wants to be near you. And honestly, there's something more flattering in that than in any amount of clingy devotion. A cat doesn't have to love you. When it does, when it climbs up in the dark and settles its warm little body against yours and closes its eyes, it's telling you it decided you were worth it. I think this is the most beautiful thing about your cat's night, and it's the part I most want you to carry away. All those hours of solitary hunting, patrolling, watching the edges, running its ancient predators program through the dark house, and then, at some point in the night, that same wild little hunter comes and curls up against the person it trusts most in the world and lets its guard fall completely and sleeps. The predator and the companion are the very same animal. It doesn't stop being a hunter to love you, and it doesn't stop loving you to hunt. It holds both, all night long, under the same roof, right beside you. So let me ask you the question I most want to hear answers to. Where does your cat sleep at night? On your chest, at your feet, on the pillow next to your head, in its own bed across the room, in some bizarre spot you'd never have chosen in a million years? And if your cat has a nighttime ritual, the little routine it does before it settles in with you, I would especially love to hear about that. Tell me down in the comments. These are always my favorite stories because every single one is a small portrait of a bond. Now, everything we've explored so far has been happening inside your home, within 4 safe walls, but there is a whole other version of the feline night, and it belongs to the cats that go outside. And thanks to some remarkable technology, scientists have finally been able to follow those cats into the darkness and see what they actually get up to when they slip out the door and vanish into the night. What they found is, frankly, astonishing and a little sobering. Because the secret nightlife of the outdoor cat is far bigger, far wilder, and far more dangerous than almost any owner imagines. Keish akilinsadik sektio, teljes shoveg. For most of human history, the night of an outdoor cat was a complete blank. Your cat would slip out the door at dusk, dissolve into the darkness, and reappear at breakfast, and you had absolutely no idea where it had been or what it had done. It was one of the great little mysteries of living with a cat. But in recent years, Science has finally cracked that mystery wide open, and the tools researchers use to do it are genuinely fascinating. So let me show you how we now know what cats do out there in the dark. The first tool is a tiny global positioning system collar, a little GPS unit, light enough for a cat to wear. Comfortably, that records exactly where the animal travels. Strap one of those on a cat, let it out for the night, and in the morning you can pull up a map of everywhere it went, every yard it crossed, every fence line it followed, the whole invisible journey traced out in a glowing line. For the first time, we could actually see the shape of a cat's night. The second tool is that little accelerometer we met earlier, the movement sensor. Attached to the collar, it records movement in 3 dimensions, so researchers can tell not just where the cat went, but what it was doing, resting, walking, or bursting into the fast, intense movement of a hunt. And the third tool is the most remarkable of all, the animal-born camera. A tiny camera mounted on the cat itself, giving us a cat's eye view of the night. And that little camera has shown us things no owner ever gets to see. It has caught cats resting hidden beneath a shrub. It has caught them watching another animal cross a road. And crucially, it has caught them hunting, again and again, killing prey that their owners never knew about and never saw, because the cat simply left it out there in the dark. And that reveals the first big truth about outdoor cat nights. There is a whole secret life happening out there that owners are completely unaware of. The gentle, affectionate cat that curls up on your lap in the evening may be, a few hours later, an efficient and prolific hunter roaming well beyond your property, taking prey you'll never see, covering ground you'd be shocked by. That charming little creature has an entire nocturnal existence you are not invited to and know almost nothing about. The cameras don't lie. The sweet lap cat and the nighttime hunter are the same animal, just on different shifts. Now let's put the indoor cat and the outdoor cat side by side, because it really is the same animal living 2 profoundly different nights. Remember, underneath, it is exactly the same creature, the same twilight clock, the same eyes and ears, the same hunting drive, the same need to patrol and rest. What differs is the world that surrounds it and how far its night reaches. The indoor cat lives its whole night among familiar rooms, windows, artificial light schedules, and a set of protected, reliable resources. Its territory is your home, and its night, however busy, unfolds in safety. The roaming cat takes that very same set of instincts and stretches them across a vastly larger and wilder stage. Gardens, alleys, fields, the edges of properties, whatever lies within its range. Its territory is a whole neighborhood, and it patrols and hunts across all of it in the dark. The GPS collars laid bare just how large those outdoor territories can be, and how far some cats travel under cover of night, distances that genuinely surprise the people who own them. Your cat might be crossing multiple yards, following regular routes through the neighborhood, ranging farther from home than you would ever have guessed. The accelerometers filled in what the cat was doing along those routes, sorting the resting from the roaming from the hunting. And the cameras revealed the behavior hidden in between the recorded locations, the actual moments of stalking and killing that a map alone could never show. Put all 3 tools together, and for the first time we have a real, detailed portrait of the outdoor feline night. And it is a portrait of a capable, wide-ranging, genuinely wild little predator moving through a world its owner never sees. But, and this is the part I really need you to hear because it's the most important thing in this whole section, that bigger, wilder night is also a far more dangerous one. All that freedom comes at a steep and serious price, and the same research that revealed how impressive outdoor cats are also revealed how exposed they are. Out there in the dark, your cat isn't just hunting. It's connecting with a world full of hazards. There are roads and cars, which are one of the great dangers to any cat that roams. There are other cats to fight with, and wildlife encounters that can go badly wrong. There are larger predators, depending on where you live, animals that hunt cats. There is disease, passed between roaming animals. There are toxic substances a cat can encounter and ingest. And there is the weather itself, cold and rain and heat, with no shelter close at hand. The variabilities that make an outdoor cat so magnificent. The senses, the stealth. The drive do not make it invulnerable, not even close. A cat is a superb small hunter, but it is also a small animal in a big, hazardous world. And the night that offers it so much freedom also exposes it to nearly all of the things most likely to cut its life short. I'm not here to lecture anyone, and I know the indoor-outdoor question is a personal and sometimes complicated one, tangled up with where you live and what your cat is used to. Different families land in different places on it, and that's a real conversation to have, with honest weight on both sides. But I do think every cat owner deserves to know the full picture, both halves of it, the astonishing capability and the very real risk. Because when you understand what science has actually shown us, the true scope of the outdoor cat's night, the distances, the hidden hunting, and the genuine dangers woven all through it, you can make a truly informed choice about the animal you love, instead of a choice based on the comforting fiction that your cat just pops out for a harmless little stroll and comes right home. The truth is bigger and wilder and more dangerous than that. And knowing it is how you protect the creature you'd do anything for. So whether your cat's night unfolds safely within your walls or ranges out across the dark neighborhood, it is, at its core, the very same animal, running the very same ancient program in wildly different conditions. And for the vast majority of that program, across all those years, everything you've learned tonight is simply normal. The waking, the patrolling, the staring, the hunting, the zoomies, the coming to your bed, all of it is your healthy cat being a healthy cat. But there is one more thing you absolutely need to know, and it might be the most practically important part of this entire video, because sometimes the night changes. Sometimes a cat that slept soundly for years begins doing something new in the dark, and that change can be the very first sign that something is wrong. Knowing how to tell an ordinary feline night from a warning sign could, quite literally, save your cat's life. And that is exactly where we're going to finish. So let's talk about the single most useful skill any cat owner can develop, and it's this: learning to tell the difference between an ordinary feline night and a night that's trying to tell you something is wrong. Because here's the beautiful and slightly heartbreaking truth about everything we've covered tonight. All that intimate knowledge you have of your cat's normal night, where it sleeps, when it wakes, the sound of its patrol, the shape of its habits, that knowledge is also the most sensitive early warning system your cat will ever have. Nobody on earth knows your cat's normal like you do, and that means nobody is better placed to notice the moment it stops being normal. That change, when it comes, is often the very first whisper that something needs attention, sometimes long before anything else shows up. Let me start with age, because time changes the night gently and mostly harmlessly on its own. As cats get older, their nights naturally shift. A senior cat may sleep more, move less, and react differently to the dark than it did in its prime. That much is just the ordinary arithmetic of aging, and by itself it's nothing to fear. But there is a specific thing that can develop in older cats that every owner should know about, because it plays out mostly at night, and it's easy to mistake for the cat just getting weird in its old age. Veterinarians describe it as cognitive dysfunction, and it's broadly similar in spirit to the kind of age-related cognitive decline we see in people. It's the aging brain starting to struggle. Now, these behavioral changes are often reported once cats reach roughly 11 years old and beyond. But, and this is a genuinely important but, age alone does not mean a cat has cognitive dysfunction. Plenty of cats stay sharp as a tack well past that age. And here's the part that really matters. Vets actually call cognitive dysfunction a diagnosis of exclusion. What that means is that it's the answer you arrive at only after you've ruled the other things out. Because a whole list of ordinary medical problems can produce the exact same nighttime behavior. An older cat pacing, calling out, seeming confused or lost in the dark. And many of those other problems are treatable. So you can never simply look at an older cat wandering and vocalizing at night and conclude, oh, it's just old age. That assumption can be dangerous because it can cause you to miss something fixable. What do those changes actually look like at night? Often it's an older cat that becomes disoriented, that seems confused in rooms it has known for years, that paces, or that starts vocalizing, calling out into the dark for reasons that aren't obvious. In one survey of cats diagnosed with cognitive dysfunction, when owners tried to make sense of the nighttime vocalizing, they most often connected it either to disorientation or to attention-seeking, with each of those explanations coming up for around 40% of respondents. But I want to be careful and honest here, the way this channel always tries to be. Those are the owner's interpretations, their best guess at what the behavior meant from the outside. They describe what it looked like. They don't prove what was actually going on inside the cat's mind. We're reading the outside of an experience we can't fully see, and it's worth staying humble about that. Now let's walk through some of those treatable medical causes, because this is the practical heart of the whole thing. The reason a change in your cat's night is worth taking seriously rather than shrugging off. The first one is a big one in older cats, and it's called hyperthyroidism. Your cat has a thyroid gland in its neck, and that gland releases hormones that regulate how fast the body burns energy. Think of it as the body's throttle. In hyperthyroidism, that gland goes into overdrive and produces too much of those hormones, and some studies suggest it affects something like 10% of cats over the age of 10. So it's not rare at all in seniors. And look at what it does. A cat with an overactive thyroid may lose weight even though it's eating more than usual, which is a classic red flag. It can become restless and more active. Its heart rate can speed up, and it can start vocalizing more, including at night. So picture an older cat that's suddenly up at all hours, restless, calling out, eating everything in sight, but getting thinner. That is not just old age. That could very well be a thyroid problem, and it's something a vet can identify and manage. Then there's kidney disease, which is also common in older cats, and it can reshape the night in its own way. Kidney trouble often makes a cat drink more and urinate more, which means more trips back and forth through the house, more visits to the litter area, sometimes right through the night. Along the same lines, any urinary discomfort, any pain or difficulty around urinating can lead to pacing, to calling out, to repeated trips to the litter box. So a cat that suddenly seems to be up and down all night, making the rounds to the water bowl and the litter box far more than it used to, is a cat whose kidneys and urinary health deserve a look. Arthritis is another quiet one that hides in the dark. Older cats very commonly develop joint pain, and it doesn't always announce itself dramatically. Instead, it shows up in small ways at night. Stairs become difficult. A favorite high perch or a beloved sleeping spot suddenly becomes hard to reach, so the cat can't settle where it always used to. A cat in pain may become restless simply because it can't get comfortable, or because getting to its usual resting place now hurts. If your older cat has stopped jumping up to a spot it always loved, or seems to hesitate at the stairs at night, aching joints may be the reason. There are others worth naming. High blood pressure, which vets call hypertension, can develop in cats and can affect the eyes, the brain, the kidneys, and the heart, so it can ripple out into all sorts of changes. Neurological problems can interfere with a cat's movement, its awareness, or its ability to follow those familiar routes we talked about. And plain anxiety can disturb sleep and drive up attention-seeking behavior, especially after some change in the household, a move, a new pet, a new baby, a disruption to the routine. Any of these can rewrite a cat's night. And then there's a whole category that's especially poignant, and that's sensory decline, the quiet fading of the very senses we spent this whole video celebrating. Sometimes an older cat's night changes because its eyes and ears aren't what they were. Take hearing. A cat that is losing its hearing may actually start vocalizing more loudly, and here's the touching reason why. It can no longer hear itself properly, so it can't judge its own volume, and so its calls get louder and louder in the dark. Those loud nighttime cries can be genuinely distressing to hear, and they're not the cat being difficult. They may be a cat that literally cannot hear how loud it's being. And then there's fading vision. A cat whose eyesight is dimming will find those dark rooms, those stairs, that rearranged furniture, so much harder to navigate. A hallway it once crossed with total confidence can become confusing when the visual landmarks blur away. Such a cat may start hugging the walls, hesitating at doorways, or calling out until a person comes and reassures it. That once fearless dark navigator, humbled by the very darkness it used to own. It's a hard thing to watch, but recognizing it for what it is lets you help. Now here is the single most important principle in this entire section, so please hold on to it. None of these behaviors on its own in a single instance means anything is wrong, not one. A cat gives a loud call in the night, so what? It might have had a dream. It might have found a closed door. It might just want your attention. One isolated behavior tells you almost nothing. The value, the real diagnostic gold, is in change over time. It's in the pattern. A single loud call means very little, but repeated calling, appearing alongside other changes, weight loss, confusion, a shift in appetite, accidents outside the litter box, that combination means something entirely different. It's the cluster and the change from your cat's own established normal that carries the message. And that is exactly why your deep familiarity with your cat matters so much. You're the one who can say, "This is new. This isn't how it used to be. Something has shifted." A vet meeting your cat for 15 minutes can't know that. You can. So think of it this way. Your cat's nighttime pattern is like a running record of how its inner clock, its senses, its comfort, and its memory are all functioning together. When that record holds steady year after year, it's telling you all those systems are working. And when the record changes, when the night genuinely, persistently sounds different than it used to, that change is worth listening to. It's your cue to get a professional involved, because a vet can help sort out what's really going on, separating the normal, harmless shifts of aging from a treatable disease or a deeper decline. And I want to be very clear about my role here, because it matters. I'm not a veterinarian, and nothing in this video is a diagnosis of your particular cat. What I can do is help you know your cat's normal well enough to notice when it changes, and encourage you, warmly but firmly, to get any real, lasting change checked out by someone who can examine your cat in person. If something about your cat's nights feels different lately, please make the call. Book the visit. It is one of the kindest, most protective things you can do for an animal that can't tell you in words that something hurts. Because that's the quiet gift hidden inside everything we've explored tonight. All this understanding of your cat's normal night isn't just fascinating, though I hope it has been. It's useful. It's protective. The better you know the ordinary rhythm of your cat's darkness, the faster you'll catch the moment it turns into a warning. And catching that moment early is, so often, the whole ballgame. Just by watching, by knowing, by paying attention to the small hours, you become your cat's first and best line of defense. I do want to add one gentle note, because I know some of you watching are living with a senior cat right now, or facing exactly these kinds of changes tonight. And this can be a tender, worrying subject when it's your own beloved companion. If that's you, please be kind to yourself and lean on your vet as a partner in it. You don't have to figure it out alone, and noticing the change, the very thing you're doing by being here, is already the hardest and most important step. Now, I can practically hear the question forming, because it's the one that brings so many of you here in the first place. This is all fascinating, you're thinking, and I love my cat, and I understand it's night now. But I would also really like to sleep past 5 in the morning. So before we wrap this up, let me give you something you can actually use tonight, because understanding your cat's night isn't just beautiful. It's the key to gently reshaping it. But first, one honest truth I want you to make peace with, because it will save you a lot of frustration. You are never going to switch off your cat's night entirely, and you shouldn't want to. Everything we've talked about, the twilight clock, the polyphasic sleep, the hunting drive, that is who your cat is, right down to the bone. You cannot train the wildcat out of it, and you'd lose something wonderful if you could. So the goal here is not to shut the night down. The goal is to shift more of it into hours that work for both of you, and to stop your cat from aiming its wide-awake energy squarely at your sleeping face. That you absolutely can do. Let me show you how, step by step. The single most powerful tool you have is something I like to call the bedtime hunt. And it works because it speaks your cat's own language, the language of that ancient predatory sequence we talked about. In the wild, a cat's natural rhythm runs like this. It hunts, it catches, it eats, it grooms, and then, satisfied and full, it sleeps. Hunt, catch, eat, groom, sleep. That's the cycle, and it's wired deep. So here's what you do. In the evening, not long before your own bedtime, you give your cat a real hunting session, not a lazy 2 minutes, a proper one. Grab a wand toy, a feather, a toy mouse on a string, and you make it move like prey. Let it dart along the baseboard. Let it dash under the couch. Let it flit up onto a chair. Exactly the kind of edge-hugging, hiding, scurrying motion that lights up your cat's whole system. And here is the crucial part that most people miss. Let your cat win. Let it actually catch and grab that toy at the end a few times, so it gets the satisfaction of the capture, not just an endless, frustrating chase it can never complete. Then, the moment that hunt is done, you feed your cat a meal. A real one, or a good portion of its food, right there at the end of the play. Do you see what you've just done? You've handed your cat the complete cycle. It hunted, it caught, now it eats. And after a good meal, what does a cat naturally do? It grooms itself, that slow, contented, after-dinner wash. And after grooming, that whole ancient sequence delivers your cat to its natural, satisfying conclusion: sleep. You have, in effect, walked your cat all the way through hunt, catch, eat, groom, sleep, and you've timed the finish to line up with your bedtime. A cat that is hunted, feasted, and groomed is a cat that is biologically primed to settle into a nice long rest right when you need it to. This one routine, done consistently, is the closest thing there is to a magic trick for the sleepless cat owner, and it works precisely because it isn't a trick at all. It's just giving your cat's real nature what it's actually asking for. The second tool builds on the first, and it's about the daytime. Remember the zoomies? All that pent-up predatory energy exploding down the hallway at 3 in the morning. The best defense against that is a cat that has spent its energy during the day, so there's simply less of it stored up and rattling around at night. So think about enrichment. Short bursts of play scattered through the day, whenever you can manage them. Even 5 minutes here and there adds up. Puzzle feeders, where your cat has to work a little to get its food, engaging that hunting brain instead of just emptying a bowl. And don't underestimate the power of a good window. A cat perched by a window looking out onto a bird feeder or a busy yard is genuinely one of the best forms of entertainment you can give an indoor cat. We sometimes call it cat TV, and it's not a joke. All that motion, all those birds and squirrels and passing leaves, gives your cat's motion-hungry eyes and hunting brain something real to chew on all day. A cat that is mentally and physically engaged while the sun is up is a cat with far less fuel to burn at 2 in the morning. Boredom, remember, is one of the great engines of nighttime chaos. The third tool is the hardest one, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise because it asks something of you. It's about that pre-dawn wake-up call, the one where your cat is standing beside your head at 5 a.m., meowing its heart out for breakfast. Remember what we learned about reinforcement. If you get up and fill the bowl at the first pre-dawn cry, you are teaching your cat, as clearly as if you'd written it down, that crying at 5 a.m. produces food. And your cat is a fast, motivated learner, so it will do that behavior more, and earlier, and louder. The uncomfortable truth is that the wake-up call is often something we accidentally trained, one exhausted, cave-in morning at a time. So how do you undo it? The principle is simple to say and genuinely hard to do. Stop rewarding the behavior you don't want. If the early meowing has been getting your cat fed, then feeding on that schedule keeps the whole thing alive. The single most useful piece of equipment I can point you toward here is an automatic timed feeder. Here's the beauty of it. You set the feeder to dispense a small meal in the early morning, and now the food arrives from the machine, on the machine's schedule, completely disconnected from your cat waking you up. Over time, your cat learns that the feeder, not you, is the source of that pre-dawn breakfast. The link between waking you and getting fed quietly dissolves because it's no longer true. That one device has rescued more cat owners' sleep than almost anything else I know of. And if you go the route of simply not responding, then I have to give you the one rule that matters more than any other. And please tattoo this on your brain. Be consistent. The very worst thing you can possibly do is hold out for 6 mornings and then, on the 7th, exhausted and defeated, finally get up and feed your cat. Because in your cat's mind, you've just taught it the most powerful lesson of all, that if it just keeps trying, eventually the crying works. That kind of on-again, off-again reward is, believe it or not, even better at cementing a behavior than rewarding it every single time. So if you decide to change the rules, you and everyone in your household have to hold that line together every single night, without exception, until the new pattern takes hold. Half measures don't just fail, they make it worse. The fourth tool is quieter, but it matters. Set your cat up for a comfortable, well-provisioned night, so its patrol has everything it needs and nothing to complain about. Fresh water available, a clean litter box it can reach easily in the dark, a warm, safe, cozy spot to settle, ideally one it doesn't have to make a difficult jump to reach, especially as it gets older, a window to check. When your cat's whole territory is in good order, its nightly rounds tend to be calmer and more self-contained, because everything it's looking for is already there. A cat that has to come find you because the water bowl is empty or the litter box is a mess is a cat you've given a reason to wake you. And the fifth tool ties them all together, and it's the one cats respond to more than almost anything. Routine. Cats are deeply creatures of habit. They find real security in a predictable rhythm to their days and nights. So try to build a consistent evening ritual and hold to it. The play session, then the meal, then the winding down, at roughly the same time each night. Over time, that repetition becomes a signal your cat can read, a familiar sequence that tells its body, this is how the day ends, this is when we rest. You're working with your cat's own love of pattern, using it to gently draw the big rest of its night into alignment with yours. Consistency isn't just helpful here, it's the whole foundation everything else stands on. But I have to circle back to something important, because I don't want anyone taking the wrong lesson from all of this. Everything I've just described is for the ordinary, healthy, been doing this for years kind of nighttime activity, the normal cat being a normal cat. If your cat's night has suddenly, genuinely changed, if a cat that always slept fine is now up and pacing and crying in a way it never did before, that is not a training problem, and no amount of bedtime hunts or timed feeders is the right first response. That is the warning sign we talked about, and the right move there is the vet, first, to rule out the medical causes before you assume its behavior. Please always sort out that question first. Reshaping a habit is for a healthy cat. A sudden change in a previously settled cat is a health question until proven otherwise. And on that note, if you share your life with a senior cat or a cat with special needs, the kind of cat whose nights are more likely to change and whose emergencies can come on fast, being prepared for those moments is one of the most loving things you can do. That's exactly why I put together my first aid guide for senior and disabled indoor cats, so that when one of those frightening, out-of-nowhere moments arrives in the dark, you're not scrambling, you already know what to do. If that's your cat, it's worth having on hand. But whatever stage of life your cat is in, the everyday tools I've just given you, the bedtime hunt, the daytime enrichment, the timed feeder, the comfortable night setup, and above all, consistency, will carry you a very long way toward nights that work for both of you. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind that will make all of these tools work far better for your particular cat. The first is that every cat hunts a little differently, and the more you match your bedtime play to your own cat's style, the more satisfying that hunt will be. Some cats are ground hunters, obsessed with things that scurry along the floor and dart under furniture. So for them, a toy dragged low and fast, disappearing behind the couch, is pure magic. Other cats are air hunters, fixated on birds, on things that fly and flutter. So a wand toy that swoops and hovers overhead will light them up like nothing else. Watch your cat. Notice what kind of movement makes its pupils blow wide and its rear end start to wiggle. Then give it more of exactly that. A hunt that matches your cat's natural preference is a hunt that satisfies it far more deeply, and a deeply satisfied cat is a soundly sleeping cat. You're not just playing, you're speaking your cat's specific dialect of the hunt. The second thing is patience and honest expectations, because this is where a lot of people give up right before it works. When you change the rules on your cat, especially around that pre-dawn wake-up call, things very often get worse before they get better. There's a name for this in the world of animal behavior, an extinction burst. When a behavior that used to work suddenly stops working, an animal doesn't just quietly accept it. It tries harder. It cranks the old behavior up, louder, longer, more insistent, as if to say, wait, this always worked before? Let me really commit this time. So if you stop rewarding the 5 a.m. crying and your cat responds by yowling even more desperately for a few nights, do not despair and do not cave. That escalation is not a sign that your plan is failing. It is very often the last loudest gasp of the old habit right before it fades. If you can hold your line through that burst, consistently, calmly, the behavior usually drops off. Cave in during the burst though, and you've taught your cat that maximum effort is what pays off, which is the worst possible lesson. Give any new routine a couple of weeks of genuine consistency before you judge whether it's working. Cats learn fast, but real habits, the deep kind, take a little time to rewire. The owners who succeed are almost never the ones with the cleverest tricks. They're the ones who stayed consistent long enough for the new pattern to set. So there's your toolkit. Real, practical, and rooted in exactly the science we've spent this whole time exploring. Not tricks to fight your cat's nature, but ways to work with it, to give that little twilight hunter what it truly needs, and in doing so, to finally get some sleep yourself. And with that, we've now traveled the full length of your cat's night, from the clock that wakes it, to the senses that guide it, to the hunter that drives it, to the bond that pulls it back to you, to the warning signs that protect it. And now to the everyday ways you can live alongside it in peace, which leaves just one thing left to do. Step back and take in the whole of it, one last time. So let's come back, one last time, to that quiet house in the middle of the night. The lights are off, the doors are closed. You are asleep deep in your own long, unbroken human night. And somewhere in the dark, your cat lifts its head. Maybe it heard a faint sound from inside the wall, pitched too high for you to catch. Maybe its inner clock simply nudged it awake, right on the twilight schedule its ancestors kept for 10,000 years. It rises, stretches out the long muscles of its back, and pads softly along the edge of a room. It pauses at a window and looks out into the dark. It stares for a moment at a spot on the wall you would swear was empty. And then, a little later, it makes its way back to the bed, curls its warm body against yours, and drifts back down into rest. A brief sprint might cross the hallway before it settles, and in the morning, you'll never know most of it happened, but now you understand it, every single piece of it. And I hope that when you catch a glimpse of your cat's night from here on out, you'll see it the way it really is, not as random weirdness, but as a beautiful, ancient, perfectly organized system, running quietly in your home every night of your cat's life. Let's gather it all up because we've traveled a long way, and it deserves to be held in one whole picture. It begins with the clock. Your cat is not truly nocturnal. It's a creature of the twilight, a crepuscular animal whose deepest rhythms still lean toward dawn and dusk, the changing edges of the day where its ancestors found their food. And that inherited clock is flexible enough to bend around your world, around your electric lights, your meal times, your comings and goings, the weather outside, and whether your cat can reach the wider world beyond your door. It's a clock that responds, rather than one that simply repeats. Then there's the sleep, and this is why your cat is awake at 3 a.m. at all. Where you take your rest in one long block, your cat spreads its rest across many smaller episodes through the whole day and night. Polyphasic sleep, we called it, and it's what makes all that flexibility possible. Your cat can wake, check its world, and settle again, over and over, while you stay locked inside a single stretch of sleep. And its sleep isn't one flat thing either. It moves through light sleep, where it's ready to wake in an instant, down into deeper non-REM sleep, where the body does its quiet repair work, and through that strange, wonderful REM sleep, paradoxical sleep, where the brain lights up like it's awake while the body lies still and limp, the whiskers trembling, a paw twitching, the machinery running behind a peaceful face. Then, when the eyes open in a dark room, the senses take over, and what a set of senses they are. The pupils open wide to gather every last photon. A retina packed with rod cells drinks in the faint light, and above all, catches the smallest movement. And that shimmering mirror in the back of the eye, the tapetum lucidum, bounces the light through a second time, squeezing double the value out of the dark and throwing back that famous glow when the light catches it just right. The picture your cat builds is soft and grainy and low on color, but it's rich in exactly what a hunter needs: edges, shapes, and motion. That's why your cat stares at the wall. It's not seeing nothing. It's catching a flicker of something real that sits just below your ability to see, and holding that ancient coiled ambush stillness while it watches. And the eyes are only the beginning. The ears, tuned far above your own hearing, sweeping the ultrasonic world where mice give themselves away, each one swiveling on its own to pinpoint a sound before the head even turns. The whiskers, reading the surfaces and the very currents of the air, feeling the way through a gap in total darkness. The paw pads reporting every texture underfoot. Proprioception, that quiet background sense that always knows where every limb is. And the balance organs deep in the inner ear, keeping the whole thing poised and sure. All of it running at once, seamlessly, so your cat can cross a room in the dark that you would need a flashlight to survive. Then, layered over the senses, the map. The invisible one, written in scent, cheek-rubbed and paw-marked onto every corner and doorway of your home. A chemical landscape that says, at every step, you are safe. This is yours. And beneath that, the physical map held in memory, every piece of furniture, every route, every important place. So your cat doesn't grope through the dark but moves through it with purpose, making its rounds, patrolling its territory, keeping its records current while you sleep. A small and diligent guardian of a kingdom you never knew needed guarding, and driving all of it, the hunter. The one thing you can never feed away, because it isn't hunger, it's identity. That ancient sequence, orient, stalk, pounce, grab, loaded and ready, firing off at a moth by the lamp or a toy behind the couch or a shifting blanket edge, because motion pulls the trigger no matter how full the bowl. It's why play is never just play. It's why the zoomies erupt out of the dark, all that predatory energy with nowhere to go, chasing the hallway because there's no mouse to chase. It's the wild little predator, alive and well, inside the animal on your couch. And yet, for all of that, for all the solitary hunting and patrolling and watching, something pulls your cat back to you in the night. The warmth of your body, the safety of your presence, safe enough to switch off, safe enough to be defenseless right beside you. The echo of a kitten curled against its mother. Whatever the exact blend, it comes back and settles against the person it trusts most in all the world and lets its guard fall completely. The predator and the companion, the very same animal, holding both at once all night long, right there under your blanket. Whether that night unfolds safely within your walls or ranges out across a dark and dangerous neighborhood, wider and wilder than any owner imagines, it's the same creature underneath, running the same ancient program in different conditions. And across all of it, your knowledge of your cat's normal night stands as its best protection. The early warning system that catches the moment the pattern changes, the moment that quiet record starts trying to tell you something's wrong. So here is the thought I most want to leave you with, the one that I think turns all of this from interesting into something a little bit wondrous. Everything we've talked about tonight, the twilight clock, the light-hungry eyes, the ultrasonic ears, the hunting drive, the patrolling, the ambush stillness, none of it was invented in your living room. All of it is inheritance. All of it is a gift or maybe a haunting from a wild animal that lived long before your cat, long before your home, long before there were homes at all. Because the story of your cat begins more than 10,000 years ago, at the very dawn of farming in a part of the world we call the Fertile Crescent. When people first began growing more grain than they could eat at once, they stored the surplus, and those stores of food drew in hordes of rodents. And where the rodents went, a certain wild hunter followed, a small, fierce, striped, solitary wildcat known as Felis libica, the African and Near Eastern wildcat. These wildcats came for the mice. They lingered around the settlements because the hunting was good. And slowly, over countless generations, the boldest and most tolerant of them learned to live alongside people, and people, glad of the free pest control, learned to tolerate them right back. That was the beginning. Not a leash, not a cage, not a captured beast, but a wild predator that chose, on its own terms, to move a little closer to the human fire. And here's the truly remarkable part, the part that puts everything tonight in its proper light. Unlike dogs, who we reshape dramatically over thousands of years of deliberate breeding into 1,000 different forms, we have changed cats astonishingly little. Down at the level of their genes, modern cats are still very close to those ancient wild cats. Apart from making them somewhat more social and more willing to live beside us, we've done very little to alter their fundamental nature, which means the animal asleep on your bed right now is, in almost every way that counts, still a wild thing, still a fierce and capable hunter, a creature that deep down does not really regard you as its master. And that is exactly what you're seeing when your cat lives out its secret night. You are watching Felis libica. You are watching the wildcat that crept up to those first grain stores 10,000 years ago, still carrying the same eyes, the same ears, the same muscles, the same memory, the same twilight timing, right into a bedroom lit by a glowing alarm clock and a street lamp through the curtains. The world around the cat has changed almost beyond recognition. The cat itself has barely changed at all. When it wakes in the dark and lifts its head toward a sound and walks the edge of the room and freezes at a flicker of movement, it is doing precisely what its ancestors did in the wild, in the exact same hours, driven by the exact same ancient clock. The setting is a modern home. The animal is timeless. There's something almost dizzying in that continuity when you really let it land. The very same instinct that once sent a hungry wildcat creeping toward a Neolithic grain store, ears swiveling for the squeak of a rat in the dark, is the instinct that sends your cat creeping toward a shadow flickering along the baseboard tonight. The distance between those two moments is more than 10. 1,000 years, and entire civilizations have risen and fallen in the gap between them, and yet the behavior is essentially unchanged. Your cat did not learn to hunt from you. It did not learn to keep twilight hours because your schedule taught it to. It carried all of that in, whole and intact, from a wild animal that never needed a human at all. We like to imagine that we tamed the cat, that we took something wild and made it ours. But the closer scientists look, the more it seems the cat tamed itself, only as far as it wished to, and no further. It came to the fire because the hunting was good, and it stayed because we were tolerable company, and the mice were plentiful. And it kept all the while the full and undiminished soul of a hunter. Every night in the dark of your home, that soul goes to work exactly as it always has. You are not watching a pet do something strange. You are watching a small wild predator do something ancient in a room that happens to have your furniture in it. So the next time you're lying awake at 2 or 3 in the morning and you hear those soft paws patting down the hall, or you feel a warm weight settle against your legs, or you catch your cat sitting perfectly still in the dark, staring at something you cannot see, I hope you'll smile a little and feel a small thrill of recognition, because you'll know what's really happening. You'll know that your gentle, spoiled, beloved house cat is out there living the other half of its life, the wild half, the ancient half, the half that was old long before you were born. Your human night is one long stretch of hoped-for sleep. Your cat's night is something else entirely, a series of small passages of resting and listening and watching and moving and returning. The wild cat's ancient clock still keeping perfect time, right there beside you, under the same roof, in the dark. That's the secret nightlife of your cat. And now, it isn't a secret from you anymore. If you made it all the way to the end of this one, thank you, truly, because it means you love this stuff as much as I do, the real, deep, fascinating truth about the animal we share our lives with. If this changed the way you see your cat even a little, do me that one small favor and hit the subscribe button so the next deep dive finds its way to you. And I meant every word about the comments, so let's hear it. Where does your cat sleep? Does it have a patrol route, a mystery staring spot, a nightly ritual? Tell me your cat's secret nightlife down below, because I read them, and they are always, without fail, the best part. And if this video helped you finally understand that little creature moving through your house in the dark, share it with another cat lover you know, someone who's up at 3 in the morning right now wondering what on earth their cat is doing, so they can meet the wild little hunter in their home too. Take good care of that little twilight hunter of yours, and I'll see you in the next one.